Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start simply because we are broadcasting this live, so they've instructed me I can't move around a lot, which is going to be really hard for me, but that's okay. And I want to thank you for coming. We had a lot of people here this morning, and there were a lot of good questions, and thank goodness I had some people in the audience who are leading the charge on some of these things that were able to share in more detail what they're doing a lot more better than I can, because I'm not living and breathing it every day like they are. But I'm going to start by telling you, do you know that we have an employee here that just won the lottery? We just found out. Yes, Patrick, tell us about it. You can go. It'll work.
Yeah. Okay, but this one of the employees from housekeeping. His name is Dennis. You understand? He bought a cash 5 and he won $1 million. You understand? He's very smart too, because he's not thinking about retiring right now. Thank you very much.
I thought that was totally cool. So he was so sweet. So yeah. So you too could win. You never know. Anyway, we have got a lot of exciting things going on, and I wanted to use this opportunity to share with you the things that we have going on, but also, as importantly, some of the data we've gotten from some of the surveys we've done. So let me start with this. I came here 5 years ago, and it was the year that Gallup had just finished doing that survey where they took 30,000 people and said, okay, you've been out of the workforce for 6 years. Can you tell me about what your life is like? And they defined people that were thriving, and then they backed it up and say, well, what was your college like? And I'll get to that in just a minute, because Gallup is now going to the colleges that are doing those things that make sure that students are going to be thriving 6 years later, because that's what employers want. And they're telling employers, you want to hire people from colleges where these things are happening. So it's an exciting time. So our commitment to our students is that we want to make sure that every NJCU student has a first-rate college experience, that they have experiential learning opportunities, and that's either internships or abroad experiences, and we've got some information about what we're doing there, and comprehensive support. And comprehensive support, and again, I'll show you the data on that one, has to do with everything that we do in and out of the classroom. It is their experience that they get when they sign on to GothicNet. It's experience they get when they register, when they go to pay their bill, when they live in the residence hall. All those pieces together make up what I would call the student experience at NJCU. Leading to a timely graduation. Those two words are probably the biggest rock we have to push up the hill. And one of the things that I was telling my board chair this morning, because I had breakfast with him and a number of our board members about some other matters, that getting a timely graduation is a 6-year project or a 5-year project. And we have to take this piece by piece by piece, semester by semester by semester, and we have to look and see what's working, what's not working for our students. And one of the things we figured out very early on that wasn't working for our students is that they have difficulty paying for college, because about 66% of our students come from family household that is $60,000 or less. And that is why we started the Debt-Free Promise. And what we thought last year, not this fall, but the fall before, would happen is that a certain number of students would take advantage of it. To our pleasant surprise, a lot more did. And what we want to show to these students is if you take a full load, 12 credits or more every semester, you stay academically eligible, we will ensure that you leave us debt-free. It's been a really good project, but the important thing that we are noticing is that we need to pay attention to them all the way through. And it's everything. And it's things that you might not even think about. I'm going to have Jody kind of share with you some of the things that she's doing with Res Life, which is also spilling out into the things we're doing in student life that helps us become more engaged with our students. So the timely graduation with minimal debt. We already have probably, well, I know it's true, the debt of our students is one of the smallest in the state, and that's the thing to be proud of. We know that that will decrease even more as we get through more students who are doing this debt-free promise. Finally, an academically rich degree and a meaningful future. And a meaningful future means that they leave us here with a job. Last night I had, the School of Business had a Dean Speaker Series, and we had a gentleman come to us who is worked and has worked his whole career in the risk management field in business. And he said following the 2008 financial crisis that the number of what they call compliance officers at his firm went from 5 to 500. And so and they're located right here in Jersey City. It's an excellent opportunity for us to be training students for jobs that are needed today. And those are some things that we're working with. So we are working with that company now. We are also working with Fidelity. Fidelity says, I need employees that come to us with a degree in finance and they need these other pieces. So we've begun to incorporate those other pieces in some of our courses so that when they finish us and go to work at Fidelity, they don't have to go through training. So it's saving money for Fidelity, they're getting the employee they want, and it's giving our students a job. And on the way, they have an internship, which is a very important thing. So we want to make sure that they have a meaningful future. It is what I have always said. We want the students to have the training for a livelihood and a life. The livelihood is the training you give them to make sure they can be an accountant or they can be a scientist. But the life is what they get here in terms of their engagement with each other, with faculty, staff, and with administrators. So let's talk about this Gallup survey. They talked about what thriving after college meant. Thriving means that you have a well-being, a purposeful life. You have a job that's intellectually engaging. You're paid a fairly decent salary. You know how to manage your money. You have friends in and out of work. You can work in teams at work, and you also have a social life outside. You have community well-being. You know how to be engaged in your community. You work in helping out in social services, or you volunteer. And finally, physical well-being. All of these are the things that define what every employer wants. They want an employee that has all those characteristics. They took the people that had those characteristics and said, all right, what was your college life like? Because if we can set that up in college, then the employers will end up with an employee that's a healthier employee for them. So there were two pieces that they figured out that were part of this. One of them was that they had a lot of support from faculty and staff, and the other was that they had experiential learning opportunities. And we always think about experiential learning opportunities to be that kind of internship, but it's really even more than that. Internships are very, very important, but there are other things that are also critically important. So let's talk about what this means. So the Gallup study found out that if you are going to be thriving, and you go back and look at your college career, you are 1.4 times likely to be more thriving if you had a professor who cared about them as a person. And if you look at the data, we'll look at it in just a few minutes, we have that here. We do that very well. You're thriving as an employee, 1.4 times more likely to be thriving if you had a mentor who encouraged you to pursue your goals. Now, mentors are this. They are faculty, but I'll tell you who else they are. They are actually other students, or they may be Jody, or they may be somebody who works in some office who takes an interest in them as a human being and helps to develop them. Last night when I was at the School of Business, I sat next to Gail Marquis, who is doing some work, and she had a gentleman who I'd met before because he's on the basketball team, and I have him over the house. And I said, Gail turned to me and said, you know, this guy, he needs to do an internship at Goldman Sachs. Because if he does this internship at Goldman Sachs, then he's likely to get this kind of a job. And it was fascinating because she was having to convince him that he was worth it, that he had enough self-worth and confidence to be able to apply for that. So those are the things that mentors do for you. And I think it's fantastic she was doing that, and I'm going to stay on his back till we do it, because he will be successful then. Experiential learning. You are 1.3 times higher to be thriving if you had an internship. And I think that data point, if you look 5 years from now, will be even higher, because internships across the country are getting to be the thing that gets you to that next piece, to your job. You're 1.2 times higher to be thriving if you were active in extracurricular activities and organizations. That is why I love working with the SGO, with the fraternities, the sororities, the clubs, and with the athletes. These are all students who are engaged in a very active way on campus. If you hang around and come to some of their events, you see that these students are very committed to what they do. I'll tell you another group of students that are very committed to what we do, or what they do, is the students that we have that are working on campus. We began to see that some of our students couldn't afford to stay in the dorm or couldn't afford to go to college, and we said, well, would you be willing to work on campus? So I have, for example, somebody in my office that works. He is a student who's from another state who said, I really want to be here in the summer. I want to be able to come to school here, but my family doesn't have the means to do it. So he works, and his check goes straight from his pocket to help pay for his dorm room, because he stays here on campus. So one of the things I've asked Jimmy to set up this year is an Office of Student Employment. And this isn't work study, because it's already very well set, and it isn't graduate assistance. This is a new program that we want to put together so that we have more students working. And again, I'm going to have Jody share with you in a minute some of the things she's done in the residence hall with that. So another one. Finally, if you had, you are more likely to be thriving 1.2 times higher if you worked on a semester-long project. Well, I'm very proud of the fact that our general education has in it a capstone project that takes you a semester to do. It's a fascinating thing, and I think it's very important. And I also know that a lot of the majors have in them for their senior year this capstone idea of having to work on something for a semester. This is important to employers because they need to know that somebody can put something together and can organize it and put it together. So let's talk about how we got to those things that are helping us move students in this thriving direction. The key elements in putting students first, we need to make sure we're doing high impact practices. We want to talk a little bit about the co- and extracurricular activities we're doing, the faculty mentoring that's happening, and the student support. Finally, what are the foundational elements that kind of make that happen? One of them is the campus environment, and the other is the data-informed actions. And I want to talk a little bit about the data-informed actions. So I have to send reports in periodically too. I've got to send a report into Middle States. I have to send a report into the state. All of these reports are driven by data. They want to know why. The breakfast I had this morning, the board is very interested in knowing, okay, what does enrollment look like for you in these various programs? So I have to go to what the state is needing, what majors they're needing, and talk about how we're going to be able to meet the needs of those particular majors in the future, and what that means in terms of enrollment for us. It's very data-driven, and they want me to give them an analysis of it so we can have a very clear sense of how we can be part of the growth of New Jersey. So let's talk about the high-impact practices. Learning communities, research with faculty, internships, capstone, and study abroad. So we, every year, do what they call the NESI and the FESI. One is the National Survey of Student Engagement, which is they ask students, and then there's the Faculty Survey of Student Engagement. And what you find is it's very often the same questions, but you're getting the answers from two different perspectives. It's how the students perceive it, and then it's how the faculty perceive it. And so what we want to look at here is we're comparing ourselves with the rest of the world, the rest of the NESI world, all the other institutions that are involved in NESI. And first year, learning community, service learning, and research. Our students reported that in their freshman year that they had 49% of them had at least one experience, and then 11% noted that they had two experiences. We were better than our peers around the country. If you look at the senior year, we've increased that. We have 53% of our students who have said, all right, I have had at least 2 experiences in service learning, a learning community, research, internships, capstone, and study abroad, which is fantastic that we have students who have been able to experience more than one of these things. Let's talk about the research with faculty. First-year student participation, 9% of the students reported, yep, I had some time to do research with faculty, and that would make sense. Freshmen are probably not going to be sitting on the bench with the scientists necessarily. But by the time they're seniors, we had 20% report on it. I wondered if students that responded weren't necessarily, maybe they weren't all science majors, because I do know a lot of the science faculty students do it. But if you look at the faculty participation, 40% of the faculty feel like it's important, and faculty rated as very important, that's 68%. So we know that our faculty know that this is an important thing, and one of the things that's going to be able to come out of particularly the science building is more opportunities to be able to do the research because they'll have the spaces for it. And we should be proud of the fact that a lot of the grants that we've come in have helped fund these research projects that faculty have done with students. If you are here in the summer, you find that there are a lot of science faculty here working with our students, but also with high school students. So it's a busy place. Some of the seniors' most important memorable experiences they talked about was the field ecology course in Costa Rica. In mathematics, they attended a math conference with my faculty advisor. In media arts, they did Showcased Media Arts, Lowe's Theater Showcase. So these are all things that we are doing with students. Let's talk a little bit about internships, because we know those are important. First-year student participation, no surprise, 10%. They're freshmen. By the time you get to senior, 38% of them reported they had an internship. And the faculty, 88% of the faculty consider that to be an important thing. So we know that there's a real desire to have it, and what we need to be sure is we're collecting as many relationships as we can out in the field so that we have students out there doing these internships. So that's why last night's speaker series was very important, because we left that speaker series, after this gentleman, we said, okay, we want internships. So now we're beginning to build those relationships, which is really important. The Gallup-Purdue Index said that graduates who visited the Career Services Office and said their internships were very helpful are 5.8 times more likely to say that their university prepared them well for their life outside of college. So we know that this particular part of a student's life is critically important for us. Some of the graduating students' comments: make internships part of the curriculum. Incoming freshmen would benefit from workshops that help them explore career options. One of the things that we talked this week with Brookdale, because we're thinking about doing some more collaborations with them, and one of the things they're doing in their health sciences program is this. They said every one of their students come in wanting to be a nurse, and they know that not everybody is going to end up being a nurse because it just takes a certain amount of rigor to get there. And so they offer a course now at Brookdale that sort of explores what does it mean to be in the health sciences. And in that way, the students get an understanding as, okay, maybe it's not nursing that I want to do. Maybe it's some other health science related field. And it's helped them better advise their students about where they need to go. And the students are more informed about it too. Study abroad. I am going to let Tamara talk.
And really the faculty who are the real champions of study abroad. I mean, there's so much we could talk about with regard to international. We've been doing a lot of international recruitment, but we also have a lot of efforts that have been dedicated towards making sure that our domestic students have study abroad opportunities, and that's been important to us. And the foundation, the president's office, the provost's office, they've been extremely helpful in that. With regard to faculty-led for this semester, we have about 6 faculty-led opportunities for students to go abroad, and I want to thank the faculty who are involved with that. They're going everywhere from Paris to Thailand to Spain and Portugal to Morocco, and so it's exciting for our students in that regard. I did fail to say this morning that we've actually included a new study abroad coordinator, and Tim is here, so we want to just thank him for his efforts in that regard. He's been doing a lot to speak with the students and connect them to study abroad opportunities opportunities, and we feel like that's really super important. In addition to identifying additional locations like Brazil and Peru, shifting over to Latin America, in addition to China and India that we've already established partnerships in. So we're doing a lot to make sure that our domestic students get abroad as we bring in students to culturally enrich our campus, to make sure that the exchanges are certainly happening. Can I just give Tim 2 minutes just to talk about some of the things that's
Sure.
happening in study
That'd be
abroad
great.
and what he's doing? Just 2 minutes?
So I have been participating in faculty-led, but also working with colleagues on increasing study abroad options on the longer scale, meaning semester study or even year study. And so one of our primary goals as we have the ACE implementation project is to recruit more departments and more faculty from all over the university. So this can be as simple as having a dedicated faculty member within the department who knows about a exchange university where there are good precedents for bringing back courses within the major, or something as simple as the faculty in a department making an agreement about which courses at a particular partner university they will accept towards the major, which can be a great incentive for a student to stay for the entire semester. So look for the emails. Please help in the effort to broaden study abroad into as many departments as possible.
Good. Thank you. I also want to share with you, this summer I had the opportunity to travel to China. As part of our Confucius Institute, we are required every year to take a group over there that would help this particular group better understand China and its relationship to the United States and how there's possible collaborations. Well, the group that went this summer included the superintendent of schools of Jersey City Schools and the gentleman who runs Big Brother, Big Sister. What came out of that is the concept of doing something called a Confucius classroom, which is a way where the Department of Education in China comes and works in one of the high schools here to be able to teach Chinese as well as to incorporate more Chinese culture into some of the programming that happens on campus. And that has been a real win for us. But the other one, which was really cool, was that they were figuring out ways for students who are Big Brother, Big Sister students to do a trip to China, which would just be a real amazing experience for these kids who probably may not have ever been into New York City, to know that they've been able to travel those places. So it was wonderful to be able to make those connections, and I think that this is so important. The other thing that happened this summer, as part of one of the my travels, I went to visit alumni in California, and on my way, I wanted to see the students who were DACA students. We have a number of them here on campus, and they wanted to do an abroad experience. So we did, we sent them to Santa Fe, and they got to see a pueblo there and understand how the Indians there work. They also got to see where George O'Keeffe did the artwork. It was an impressive thing, but the thing that really blew me away about it was that of all the students around the table at the dinner, they're all from different countries. So we are not what I would call monolithic in our diversity. We are just all over the place, and it was an exciting thing to see. These people are going to be, I think they're going to be the future of our country, along with our students, and I think giving them the tools to succeed is so important. So it was a lot of fun. It really was. And so I'm really excited about this. The other thing is we are part of the American Council of Education Internationalization. Now, there are 4,500 institutions in the United States, and most of them, they're all ACE institutions. They picked four a few years ago, 2 years ago, to be part of this Internationalization Lab, and we were one of the four. And because of that, they've helped us create our curriculum, but they've also helped us figure out how to bring international students in and send our students out. The cool thing about that is I think we are on the cusp of, well, we're going to apply for an award because I think we have done so many things that are very noteworthy that I've already heard from a lot of colleagues around the country that they're very impressed with the things that we're doing to take a very diverse community here and really enrich it as people come in and people go out. So it's been a lot of fun. By the way, the other thing that happened to us when we were in China is we visited the two of the 6 institutions with which we have what I call joint degrees. And we had an opportunity to talk to all the students who were there dressed in NJCU t-shirts. And they will be doing 3 years there in China, and then they will come here on the 4th year. The good thing about that is that they are excited about coming here, and they really want to finish, and some of them may end up staying for their master's program. It's a very exciting proposal for us. I also know that when I was at one of the institutions, we were staying in a particular hotel, and I walked outside, and there was a bus that said, Rutgers International Program. Well, they have a 4+0 program, which means 4 years are in China and 0 years are at Rutgers. So they're doing the same thing we're doing. And you do it because it helps you to get students, but it also helps you to reach out to other institutions, and it's more students. So anyway, they do not count, by the way, those students do not count on our, when you hand in the iPads data, they do not count until they come here and they are our students. So co-curricular and extracurricular activities. I am excited to say that I think we've made great progress with this, but I also think there's a lot more things that they are going to be doing this year in the co-curricular areas. And so there's a lot of good stuff going on. We'll start with this, student participation. Again, we'll go back to the NSSE, this is the NSSE survey. Co-curricular participation, in the first year, 57% of the students said that they were participating. By senior, it had dropped some. If you go to on the right-hand side, that's volunteering and community service. More students volunteered by the time they were a senior than their freshman year. And then leadership role in a club in SGO. You would think that that would probably be soon, because you're not going to have everybody have a leadership role unless we had a whole lot of clubs. But here's some other interesting highlights. Lynn Hamlin provided this with us, that they raised $29,000 last year on community service volunteerism. By the way, we will be sending out an email to all of you because they're doing a big fundraiser for Puerto Rico and another one for, oh gee, what was the other one? Mexico. Okay, so there's opportunities for you to help out. The Puerto Rican issue is I think they want you to, if you want to pay cash, that's fine. However, what they're going to be doing is buying things to send down there, because that's what's needed the most right now. 35 students participated in something called Peers Educating Peers. That was a fantastic program, and it continues to grow. And I want to thank the leadership who's really helping to make that something very meaningful for the students, as well as the students who get to participate in it. NSLS inducted 137 new students, which is fantastic. They also have speakers come. Last year we had, I say his name all the time, is it Trevor Noah? Yeah. Okay. I say it backwards. We had him on campus along with some of the other speakers. This year they're teeing up some really good ones, and this is part of a national thing that we do with about 65 other institutions around the country. So let's talk a little bit about faculty-student mentoring. This is students engaging with faculty often. And of course, when I first looked at the data, I said, oh my gosh, the numbers are low, but the numbers are low nationally, you know. So let's talk about it. The first one, you had your freshman year. A faculty member talked about your career plans. We got 37%. We did well. Worked with the faculty on something other than coursework, discussed course concepts with faculty outside, and finally discussed academic performance. If you look at the same questions done to the seniors, the numbers are up, and we're doing quite well. So students are engaging with our faculty. And I think that's, again, that plays out if you look at the surveys that we take of our seniors, is they feel like the faculty are very engaged. And if I talk to alumni, they can tell you the name of a professor that made a difference in their lives. So that's an important thing. Graduating seniors, memorable moments. My professor motivating me to be better than what others thought of me, and most importantly, of what I thought of myself. Several of my professors went above and beyond to make sure I exceeded and understand the curriculum and were available to meet with me when I needed. Having excellent class discussion and debates with professors and students. My professor is a fabulous professor and mentor, And she goes above and beyond her students and pushes them to excel in every way that no other professor I can encounter. So we have good things happening in the classroom, and what we're trying to do is to make sure we have good things happening outside the classroom. So I'm going to have Jody when she, because I'm going to ask her to talk a little bit about some of the things that she's doing in the residence hall. And I'll tell you this quick story. I have every athletic team over for dinner. So last year I had the basketball team over, and I always ask them the same question. I said, what do you think you're going to remember 5 years from now? And they all talk about the team and how important the team is to them, and they talk about their coach. So all of a sudden we're going around the room, and suddenly there's tears in everybody's eyes, and I'm thinking, oh dear, what have we done? And I found out that several of the students are there because they said, I could not stay in my home because that's not a safe place for me to be, and I am only here because Coach Brown is making sure that I'm succeeding as a student and as an athlete. Well, I was crying, but no. You know, I know that this is making a difference in these students' lives. Now that is possible because our foundation committed last year to providing 2 sums of money. One is for students to live in the residence hall, because we found when we opened up the residence hall that everybody was, okay, here's my Pell money, here's my tag money, here's the little bit my family pays, and then you're supposed to take the rest out as debt. And they didn't want to take the debt, and we really didn't want them to. So we found money from the foundation to help cover that difference there so they could stay in the residence hall. The other thing we found, there are students who get halfway through their semester and something happens. Their family situation gets very, very bad, or something happens that for them that they can't live at home, or even at home but they can't pay their bills. We have emergency funds now that's done through the student services for students who have come up with issues. And this is what we want to be doing outside the classroom so that they can get to the class with a clear head to figure out, how they can participate in class. So anyway, it's what I call a group project. We're all working together to make sure that student is much more successful. Let's talk a little bit about student support. So high quality interactions, if we list them, the students identify in their first year, 51% felt like they had high quality interactions. That's very close to the national average. Their academic advisors was a high quality at 39%. 44%, there was students said that 44% of them said that their faculty were high quality. And student services staff were at 39, administrative staff was at 44. If you look at the senior year, we again are, I think, on level with our peers around the country. Although, like every other institution around the country, you'd want to get the numbers better. So they did go up, and that's a good thing to see. We just want to make sure that we're having high quality interactions. And let me define a high quality interaction. I was explaining this morning, so a student wanders on campus with the intention of going to college. Many of them haven't a clue what going to college means. They do not know that it means paying a bill. It doesn't know the bill's going to show up. They got to register, they got to go to class. There's a myriad, it's a whole new world. And yet when they go to the bursar's office, or they go to the financial aid office, or they go to the registrar's office, they assume they're going to get a sort of consistent experience. But if one office says it one way and another office says it another, then it's confusing to the student. So one of the things we're working on in our student services, and these are all that team of people, is to really think about what happens to you when you go to the doctor, you go to the hospital. They pull out the electronic thing on you, and whether it's a nurse or a practitioner or the physical therapist, just because I had surgery recently, they all know who you are and what your situation is, and they want to help you. So what we're trying to do more of is help cross-train people so that someone in the advising office has a better understanding of the student's financial situation and says, okay, maybe I can help you out with this, or have you thought about working on campus, now that we have a working on campus office. So all the things that we need to do to help the students get through those 4 years. We need to make the services outside the classroom robust so that they can focus on what they need to focus on in the classroom. So these are the things, the high quality interactions. Collaborative student efforts. Now, we have done a lot of things already. We really have. Everybody's focusing on it. The trick now is to figure out how do we focus what we do? How do we make sure we're all pretty thinking in the same direction on how to serve the student? So we have the Career Placement Office, we have Financial Aid. These are all the offices that interface with students. And again, they see this as one place. Office of Special Services and Supplemental Instruction, the Registrar's Office, the Student Accounts, and the Student Life. So we want to make sure all those offices are kind of interacting. And then you've got the support, the athletics. Do you know right now that if you're an athlete, you're required to go to mandatory, what do you have? They have mandatory study hall. Yep, they do that. They also wander by your classrooms to see if the athlete's attending class. They do it in a very stereotypical way. And because of that, we know, we have seen that the retention for our athletes has really gone up. They're paying attention more to them. They're also very attentive about their advising. The hub has been very helpful. We have found more students. One of the things that happens in the hub is when a student signs in, it shows up in that EAB. So that way, everybody knows whether Sally's been going to see somebody in the hub to help with their math tutoring or something like that. So that's a helpful thing. The OSP office has always been very helpful, and they've just hired an associate director because someone, I think he left. So she's very excited. She was at Hudson County Community College. We had an opportunity for her to be introduced this morning, so it's nice to have her on board. The SOAR office has been very successful. They did a ton of outreach last year trying to get students registered, which is a really important thing to do. We really need to make sure our students are registered in a timely manner. TLC and the undergraduate academic advising, all university academic advisors are all very important. And then underneath all of it is something that I know a lot of you have working, and I'm going to embarrass Phyllis here. Phyllis, I want to thank your staff in particular, because I know your staff, I know the registrar staff, I know the advising staff, I know a lot of the chairs had to work on making sure to get the online catalog on board. The online catalog is our contract with the students that says this is what we expect of you, and these are the things we're going to offer you, but this is what you've got to do. And it is what I call the legal contract. So it's very important that we have it and we have it up to date. We need to make sure that, which we do, have all our policies up there so they understand what happens to them, you know, whether, if anything, if they're not attending or any of those things. Class scheduling. And then degree maps. The degree maps have been so useful, and we're going to reiterate them one more time so that we can get it as clear as possible so students know what the roadmap looks. And here's one that students are actually taking advantage of more than anybody else, and that's what I call the degree progress report. She's shaking her head, yes. They go in and figure out how far they've gotten and what they have left to do. So they're tracking themselves, because they don't want to stay here any longer than they need to, because they know every semester they stay, the more expensive it is. They will run out of their Pell money, and we don't want that to happen. The TLC office, again, no, EAB advising. EAB advising is that platform so that when students sign into the hub, it shows up on there. So somebody in the advising office can see that, yep, Sally's been going to the tutoring office. Well, how's that working out for you? We're going to connect this platform with how their bill's doing. Well, do you owe money? Can we help you figure out how to pay for that? What are some things we can do for you? We all got to think about ways we can help the students succeed. And we're finding, again, it has to do a lot with what's happening outside the classroom, how they're maneuvering life. And then finally, the early alerts. I want to thank those of you. Where is Nurdan in here? Where is she? Okay. Would you please tell us about what happened with the class rolls? So.
First of all, I would like to thank everybody involved. Thank you. I would like to thank everybody who participated the attendance roster, and we actually made it 70% participation rate this time, which is excellent. It is not perfect, but we are getting there.
We are getting there.
College of Education, 100% participation. School of Business, 97% of participation. We are hoping that all colleges are going to be like that. And it is very important. It is demanded by the state. It is very important important to understand whether students are attending the classes. It's just a small step, and it is also part of the understanding the application for university-wide syllabi, so action plan. We are trying to inform what is coming next. So we will move one step at a time.
Yeah, I want to thank you for that. I want to talk a little about the need to get those roles in, and I'm going to tell the Hunter story. You have to call roll within the first 5 weeks because at that point in time, the federal government is interested in knowing whether Sally, who applied to your school, registered, and got financial aid, whether Sally ever showed up or not. Because if Sally didn't show up, then there's money that has come in that needs to be returned to the federal government. And, you know, I'm not interested in the Hunter story, which they got a $2 million fine. And it happens every year. They come in and they audit you. They audit us. And the only way we know whether Sally has shown up or not is for you to call the roll and send that register. And so that's why it's very, very important. It is a legal requirement that we have to have. And so I appreciate your help in making us meet our obligations with the federal government. So finally, let's talk a little bit about campus environment. Jody, I'm going to let you talk about Res Life because you do it better than I do. Do you all know Jody? No? Yes?
Hi, I'm Jody. I oversee residence life here on campus, and we've had the privilege of really being able to work across campus with a number of different offices and enhancing some of the services for our students. One of the things that we really talk about in residence life is a lot of our students, as Dr. Henderson had said before, they don't have other places to go. And so our goal is to really create a home for them in residence life where they're allowed to be here 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I've got Mike and Ron on call all of the time. And so we're able to really be able to open the doors for our international students, our domestic exchange students, and for our students who are even local, living down the street, but home is not a safe place or a comfortable place or someplace they want to be able to succeed academically. And so that's one of the major initiatives that we were able to do this year is we were able to open the residence halls year-round because we work year-round, and so they have a place to be. We are also able to, for some of our students who really aren't able to stay at home but even afford some of our residence halls, the foundation is able to give us scholarships. So in partnership with the Office of Financial Aid and the Bursar's office, we take a look at every single student who's coming through. Some people love my emails and some people dread when my name pops up now because we're constantly finagling and we're constantly navigating what a financial situation by day for a student is. I'm happy to say that we are able to place all students financially into the residence hall that they want to be in. We're also able to put all of our first year students living in the same room, same bed square footage with another first year or new student into NJCU, which is also important to us. We also are partnering with a variety of offices. So we've been able to partner with ITS where we've created a really seamless conversation for residence hall students if they're having issues in the halls with their computers. We've got wireless printers. We've got computer corrals in all of the different halls. We've been able to work with the hub where we, at the last 2 weeks of each semester before final exams, we actually host 2 tutors to live within the residence hall so they're able to do late night academic advising and late night tutoring for the students so that they're able to get help after hours for classes. We have gender inclusive housing, and when I say gender inclusive, it means that anybody can live with anybody if they're all okay with it. And so we try to really be inclusive, not just of our LGBTQ community, but of our athletes who might want to live together or our family members who might want to live together. And so we focus on that when we're housing our students as well. Counseling and graduate counselor in the residence halls, we've partnered with our Masters in Counseling program where they are doing their internship hours. Last year, they were able to do 90 hours in the spring semester, and we have one student this year who's doing 40 hours of counseling internship with us where they hear low-level counseling issues. They do about 40 hours as part of their internship. We partner with our counseling center so that they help train our staff They help train our intern. Then they pipeline any students with major issues where they might need connection to the local community to get outreach and services. And it's really proven. We had about 35 to 40 students last year go through it, and we already have a number of students this year who've actually come to us and asked if they could be a part of the program. So the judicial mandate isn't the only way they're getting to us. We partner with International Office, and I can't express enough how much this office means to us, is working with Tamara, where we're able to, we have about 70 students between domestic exchange and international exchange living with us, and that's by semester. So our Chinese students from Beijing come and go. They're back and forth all of the time, but we are able to have all of those students live with us. We've focused on simple issues like move-in times for them, storage times for them. Edie's office in gourmet dining and procurement has been able to help us open up the cafeterias early and more year-round for our students to be able to eat. We have an international student programmer who we're working with together, where it's a partnership where we provide housing and they do programs and services for our international students. I actually get to meet them tomorrow, Friday, so I'm excited about that. We've also been able to partner with Ron's office in criminal justice, where we have a student who is half with us and half with public safety, to really understand what the issues in the residence halls are, what are the concerns that our students have at night, where are the blind spots that we're not seeing. And so we have an internship with the two of us. We're the masters in criminal justice, so he's getting the experience in terms of the public safety side of the house, but we also have another student giving us feedback in terms of the residence halls. And then one of the things that's not on here, and this is what I'll end with, is the fact that we've really tried very hard to partner with a variety of offices across campus. And so between the bursar, financial aid, academic advising, every semester, at the beginning and at the end, we have those offices come in and they work with us to hold hands with the students and get them through registration, early registration, billing issues. SOAR comes in and really helps them navigate their financial plans and the paperwork that they have to do. So all students have to have filed their FAFSA and have to be registered for classes before they come in. And financial aid has the conversation about what is the gap in the money that they owe, so that those students really know what the cost of their education is going to be for them. So we really try very hard to work with them.
Talk about the summer students.
Oh, this is my group that's close to my heart, is our summer students who don't have any place to go. I am in multiple enrollment management meetings. I am called the Bleeding Heart. And Cynthia's laughing because what I do is I try to find creative ways to keep students on campus and keep them with us. And so we have some summer vacancies where not all of our rooms are filled. And so those students who didn't have any place to go and didn't really have any financial aid for the summer that was going to help cover them, we figured out a way of how much it costs each week to live in housing and how much an hourly wage with the federal minimum wages, and we divided that up for sweat hours and sweat equity, much like Habitat for Humanity, where people go in and they work on their own houses. And so we were able to provide housing, and they worked in a variety of offices across campus, the provost's office, the president's office. In residence life is our desk attendants, because our residence hall desks are manned 24 hours a day. And so we were able to, there was about, I feel like it was like about 7 or 8 students that lived with us for the entire summer, worked for us, and were able to have a space to go when they wouldn't have had anything else. And so that's some of the leverage. We're constantly trying to see what are the free things that we already have at our service and our availability to be able to help students succeed through, because like I said, they don't have any place else to go, and so I want us to have a home for them here. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So one of the things that she didn't share with you is that during the summer we not only have the students who stay here year-round, but we also have some summer camps where students come to us from other countries to take English. And the benefit of that is when we did the performer for the residence hall, we really only wanted to charge a certain amount in terms of housing costs for the students. To make that happen, you got to do some other stuff that brings revenue in. And these international students that come in and do the summer camps and stay there, they pay for the rooms, and that helps to make sure that the cost for our students is lower than it needed to be. So I'm grateful for that, and if you have programs you want to do in the summer where you have groups of students come in for 2 weeks and want to stay overnight, I know Jody can make it happen.
As a matter of fact, we're already looking at 2019, and we have 4,000 Boys and Girl Scouts coming from the UK.
Oh, that's right.
Descending upon the metropolitan area for one night, so you will see them in June for one day.
Yeah, well, they'll be here. Thank you. So So lots of good things happening, and this not just is in the new residence hall, but it's all three of them. Jody oversees all of it. It's a comprehensive package for the students. They do live in three places, but the idea is to have them much more cohesive experience for them. By the way, they also are really avid supporters of the athletic program. So whenever I go to the athletic camp, they're there. So let's talk a little bit about the campus environment, inclusive and cultural diversity. And this is a place, as Sue Gerber said to me when she pulled the data together, she said, we rock here. Our diversity relative to our peers around the country is quite good. Our commitment to diversity is quite high, both in the freshman year and in the senior year, 80% in the senior year. If you look at preparing students for success in a multicultural world, again, nice high marks there, higher than our peers around the country, creating a sense of community among students, and finally, preparing students to confront discrimination. I want to talk about that just a little bit. So we have the President's Diversity Council, and we met last week, and what we are going to be doing is putting together a series of speakers, but then also opportunities for people to kind of engage in dialogue, and I'll get to one of those in just a second. And one of the things that came up was this: while we want to make sure that students understand who they are, and we have respect for each other, and we are eager to learn about other people and their other cultures, I know when they leave here, they may enter a workforce that's not as kind. And what we have got to help our students understand is to believe in who they are, and what they are, who they are, and what they represent, and know that that's important and that they have value, even when the person that's approaching them says something that's very unkind and sometimes quite snarky. And how is it you deal with that? So I'm really wanting us to focus this year on how is it we make sure that they can thrive out there after they leave us, because the workforce is not always a kind and friendly place, and yet we want them working. They want to be working, and not for nothing. They need to be leaders in helping, I think, the rest of the workforce understand who they are and what value they can bring to the organization. Luke Visconti is the chair of my foundation board, and one of the things he has studied, he runs Diversity Inc., is that organizations that have a diverse workforce are much more successful and far healthier than more monolithic types of organizations. And that's an exciting thing for me to know, because I always tell employers, well, you're looking for diversity, you should come to this institution because we can certainly provide it. So I was very excited about this, and I think, yes. Is Lynn here? Yes. Is your mouth better?
Not necessarily.
She went to the dentist this morning.
We're bringing to campus.
You'll have to turn around, because otherwise they're looking at the back of you. No, this way.
I don't want to be that way.
Yeah, look.
Okay. This seems awkward. Sorry about that. What we will be doing this year is having a civility campaign, and it will begin the week of October 23rd, and one of the first activities is this play, Defamation the Play. And it is about an incident that occurs within an apartment complex and ends up in court. And part of the excitement of this is that the audience plays the jury. So the audience gets to vote for who they think is guilty. And it really crosses all issues, gender, race, culture, all kinds of things, and I'm really excited about it. Some of our audience members, Jody and I believe Venita, have seen it before. NASPA presented it. So we're really excited to bring it to campus. And one of the efforts, our efforts, is to teach our students primarily, and obviously our staff, to be more civil towards each other, as the president alluded to in the last slide. So this is our effort to start that out. And I would encourage everybody to come. It's October 25th at noon in the multipurpose room, and we'll be sending out advertisement to everyone shortly. And so we look for your support and ask that you be civil to each other. So
I'm going to make one more advertisement, and this is something I spoke at conference a couple of years ago down in Mobile, Alabama, and they do a diversity conference every year to try to help people there to learn how to deal with diversity in a much better way. The fascinating, which I knew, thing is that, you know, the predominant, you know, most of the people there are white, and then there's the people the black people, and they don't have the rich diversity that we have here. But one of the speakers that came to speak, and I went ahead and did it, had a test that we could all take. It took 10 minutes to take, and it's on the Harvard website, and it's on implicit bias. And you should take it. Doesn't take more than 10 minutes, but you'd be surprised. What you kind of implicitly are biased about. So anyway, I've decided I must have issues with my mother. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I love her, but anyway, because that's one of the things that came out. So it's a fascinating thing, because all of us have biases. You know, we grew up and we just have a way that we view the world. And I think what we need to, as a society, get to is where we know what our framework is, but then appreciate other frameworks, because I think that's so very important. And it's going to be a real important skill, I think, for the workforce of the future. So we also did the coach survey last year, and these are the results from it. There were multiple areas that they looked at. They looked at work. That's in the green. Resources is in the blue. And collaboration and mentoring is in the purple, promotion and tenure is in the black, leadership's in the red, governance is in the yellow, department is in the orange, and appreciation is in the gray. And some of these we're doing really well in. I think there's a lot of engagement in the departments, which is fantastic, and we should build on that. And then there's others where we should think about where we do okay in, we should get better at, and there's some things that we need to address. I know the provost is planning on discussing this week in the chairs meeting, and wants to put together a blue ribbon task force that can look on ways that we can help improve the things that we're doing well, and the things we need to work on, and then the things that really have areas of opportunity for us. So that is something that's upcoming, and I'm looking forward to see what the task force comes up with on that one. So let's talk about the science building. I'm going to let Michael talk, but then I'm going to let John talk, because not for nothing, John wore jeans for about 3 weeks, right? About 15 weeks. So go.
Yeah, no problem. So the science building, for everyone that doesn't remember, this was a complete gut renovation and expansion of the existing science building to provide new state-of-the-art classrooms, teaching laboratories, and research laboratories for both the biology, chemistry, physics of the current occupants, and also a new home for our earth sciences department. So this project started about 2 years ago, and thanks to our, to the students, faculty, and staff for dealing with a lot of noise, disruption, and everything, in that we were very successful, again, through partnership with everybody, including public safety and IT, get the 4th and 5th floors open this past fall for the 5th floor for the chemistry department and the 4th floor for biology. So that's just the first part of the phase. The second half of the project is now getting the rest of the building, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor online, which is scheduled to be done by the start of the spring semester, which will provide a new home for the earth sciences, who will be relocating out of the Rossi Hall into new laboratory and classrooms, which is probably something that hasn't been touched since they were built back in the 70s or 60s.
It's a little special over there right now.
So again, the biology, chemistry has been in there for the first 2 weeks. They have been very patient in working out a lot of the bugs that are in there. So again, I thank them, but so for you.
So I want to, first of all, thank the academic departments. Their willingness to be able to do this in this way allowed us to spend the maximum amount of the money that we got from the state, as well as the $10 million that we borrowed, to get what they needed in the new building. So I want to thank them for this. I know it has been a huge inconvenience, but I just want to thank you so much, because it took a lot of work, and I know that. So.
What would you like me to say?
Well, what is your space like now?
Well, it's much more modern. I think that's one of our labs on the left there, yeah, because it has a plant rack. And the rooms are close to twice the size of our previous teaching labs. The ceilings are higher. It's a lot brighter and more accommodating. There have been some hiccups. That's actually to be expected. I mean, we've been working on stuff like this for a long time. But there's a few things that are a little different, and I think my friends in chemistry will tell you, everybody being in one office together is a new experience. And, you know, we're still living out of boxes and looking for things, and there's still actually stuff in the hallways that won't stay there forever. But bit by bit, we're getting there, and, you know, we, I think, can say that the worst of it is behind us, and so that we will, you know, easily in a 9 months' time, pretty much be completely deployed, and you know, I'm looking forward to the conclusion of the project. It's been going on a long time.
Yeah, I
And
do
it's,
want to thank
kinda
all
like
of you
a
because it's been, I know it's
part-time
been a
job.
huge, it's been a huge project for you all. And the thing that I'm excited about is I think you're finally getting some research spaces as well as classrooms. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, I had people working in research labs that were like 8 by 12 because that's all the space that I had, and now all the research labs are probably about 20 by 30 with lots of bench space and very well lit and accommodated and all those sorts of things. And we'll have some more proper facilities for electron microscopes and the NMR system and other things like that.
So one of the things that the sciences have always been very entrepreneurial about is taking an advantage of, we are in the state where they do a lot of science. So when the buildings are closing down and they're getting rid of their really expensive equipment, we end up getting in a fire sale. I mean, it's kind of like, well, I went to the garage sale and I got this. That was one of the first things I was so impressed by is the equipment that we already have is very high quality. We just never had the right kind of spaces for you to be able to do it. In spite of all that, you've actually grown your departments, and I'm very thrilled with that because you help to serve a very important, the nursing program and the health sciences, but then you also have a number of students who are very interested now in going either in the pharmaceutical field to teach or go on and get an MD or a PhD. And you're to be commended because you're doing good work, and I appreciate that. So, and the students appreciate it. So, and it shows with the schools. I have been real pleased as I talk with Marcia Lyles. She's the one that went to China with us this summer. She said, you know, we are so impressed with the work that you're doing in the sciences that people at places, this is Bayonne, that's not necessarily in Jersey City, but places like Infinity High School and the other one, they send students here. Dickinson, I went and met with a principal there. They're very interested in our science work. So, thank you. So that's the science building. I think you're standing because you know what's next, right? So let's talk a little bit about nursing. I will tell you that one of the things that this state, if you were to do the research on what are the up and coming jobs that are available, it's nursing. But it isn't just the four-year nursing degree. There's, and I think the nurses could tell me better than I can figure it out. There's nursing administration, there's certificates after they get their nursing degree, there's health sciences, there's community health, which is very important and is a very successful program. You do a fantastic job. Yours is school nurse, yes? And these programs are all programs that are important to New Jersey. It's actually important to all of us because, as we all know, the baby boomers are getting older, but they're living longer, and they just really don't want to be so sedentary. They want to stay active, and to do that, they have to have a healthy lifestyle, which means they may have to go to the doctor and have ACLs fixed and things like that. So anyway, you want to talk a bit about the nursing?
Yeah, so the Nursing Education Center was a grant that was written last year and awarded by the state, a $5.2 million project that initially, when the grant was submitted, was originally going to be down at the BDI. So after looking at the design and concept and looking at the fact that, as I said before, Earth Science is moving out of Rossi going into the Science Building, it looked like it was a much better fit to do the project within the Rossi Hall. So the Nursing Education Center will be renovating and expanding within the 4th, 5th, and 6th floor of the Rossi building. 4th and 5th floor will be becoming the offices where they are now, plus also classrooms. And then the 6th floor will, because I've been calling it the NJCU hospital floor, will be the complete simulation floor, including isolation, standard hospital bed, and also an apartment simulator to do for home nursing training. Just a funny story, while we were doing the design work, we were looking at all the designs, and we asked the question, is the new simulated apartment, is that built to ADA compliance or what? I said, oh, absolutely, it has to be ADA compliant. I said, well, wait a minute, no, this is not a new building. We have to train for future nurses going into homes that were built 20, 30 years ago that has the narrower doors, the no grab bars and bathrooms. So we actually had to change it and say, no, make it non-ADA compliant. So that's where a lot of the nurses that are going into the homes, that's the type of the environment they're going to be in. So again, a great project. Again, good, great collaboration with the nursing department. To Kevin O'Neill, thank you. And of course, IT and public safety and everyone just working together to get this project. So we are right now at 100% design, construction documents, going through budget validation to make sure what we put on paper is still within our budget. And once we get through that validation, this will be going out onto the street for bidding and construction. Yes.
I hate to ask, but I'm a member of the sociology and anthropology department.
Yes.
So on behalf of my department, has our department been consulted about this plan? Because we have some very severe space issues of our own. A few years ago, our conference room was taken by the nursing department to house a piece of equipment, and we have no conference room, and we are severely stressed for space. So I'm concerned about that and wondering if you could address that.
Sure. Right now, as far as we are not touching any of the existing spaces within it. So all the space that we are utilizing within the 5th floor was what was part of the geosciences department. And also there'll be also general classrooms on that area also.
Well,
So.
just so you know, I had a conversation with the provost over the summer about the need for space for sociology, and we were actually hoping that we would be able to utilize some of the space being vacated by the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences. So this is the first time that I'm seeing this, and to my knowledge, our chair has not been informed of these plans. The chair of sociology and anthropology has not been informed of this plan either, and it does impact us.
Okay, that's something we can take offline and we can
So
talk
what
afterwards
would be
on that,
helpful is if you chair, send that up so that we can put it in. One of the things I've asked him to do, Michael, is he has to own space here on campus. I need to have somebody who gets up every day and says, okay, you're the basket weaving department, you need this much space, you've been growing, gosh, we need to give you a little more space, you've been shrinking, unfortunately I can't give you as much, because, it is what it is. So if you will get that to your chair, I will make sure he reaches out and gets that, because this is something I'm trying to put in a really more comprehensive way. We're doing these 3 retreats. One of the purposes of the retreats is to look at the next 4 to 5 years. How can we envision where we want to go? And to do that, I kind of need to know, okay, what's the programmatic things? So you would say, okay, look, these are the things we're doing in sociology. You've got some really good sociologists. So what is it we're doing? This is where the programs could go. And then we translate that in, okay, what are the space needs that we need? Does that make sense? Yeah. So, because, and I need it as sort of the comprehensive package. This past strategic plan we just finished up, what we did with everything in it, we marked it, any activity that we did, we marked it to what facilities were involved with that, and then what was the budgetary implication for that, so that there was tied to the budget. And that's how this year, when we again hand into OMB, what are the priorities? We never get money from the state for it, but it helps you to kind of focus on what's important, is, okay, what is it from the strategic plan, and we need to keep moving on. So, and I would really want to encourage the departments to kind of think about, what does your degree look like moving forward? In other words, and I'll pick on the nurses. There are some definite things that the industry says that we need. The population says this is what we need. At the same time, I need to know, because I'm in the math department, I need to know that I'm doing the right courses, that they're going to serve the chemistry department and serves the English department. I got to be served, but then I also want my own majors, which is one of the reasons I was so delighted that they put together the actuarial minor, because that's actually a very fundable thing for students to do when they leave. They make great money. So that's something I really hope that we can do, and I've asked Jimmy to put together an analysis of, okay, what do the reports say about what New Jersey needs over the next 10 years? Because it might help inform what we would want to do. And sociology weighs deeply into that. So, okay, is there one more?
Yep.
Well, you have to do West Campus, don't you?
Two more.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, so GSUB, first floor. So I know another concern that we had was looking at our first floor in G-Sub Student Union Building, the furniture, the carpeting, the tile, and now this year we're going to be doing a refresh of that. So on the first floor in the next 2 months, we'll be getting new furniture, so it's going to be providing a lot more flexible furniture for the students, also some different nook areas, so that way students can collaborate with faculty, staff, and everything. In addition, we're going to be renovating and removing the existing 20-year-old carpet and tile that's breaking up and replacing that with a nice sheet vinyl on there. So again, a good, nice refresh. Again, more flexible space in there. Again, for more student collaboration among the students.
Yeah,
Hi, my name
Hi.
is Keon Jackson. I'm a music ed student. About G-Sub, I wanted to know if there's a conversation being had with SGO, because I know that we use a lot of the space for programming, especially like when you first come in. So I don't know if furniture is going to be there or that.
So you're getting to exactly what I have been chewing on Jimmy and Michael about since we began. I said, how do I take this space and make it very flexible but useful to students as well as outside groups? Because if you go by the G-Sub any time, day, night, weekend, there are groups using it. So is a thought to that. I know this furniture is all movable, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And some of the pictures that weren't there. So yes, all the different nooks have all different movable furniture. In the front area where we have a lot of the stage activities, there's all new furniture for that area. So it is addressing a lot of the different parts within the first floor of the Student Union Building. So once we get through final selection, we'll have more renderings that we put up and they'll be on display on the first floor. So you'll be able to see, and again, what's nice about this furniture, everything's on wheels, everything's movable, everything is reconfigurable, which was the main theme behind that, because right now, everything is kind of static where it is, so we want to make it more movable and flexible. So take it from having small breakout areas, more little, if you want to do little lectures in the common area, to theater, to again even break out for study sessions or any group study sessions.
Right.
So very
the other
flexible
thing,
space.
If you visit other schools and you get ideas, bring them back. Because, you know, it helps us to think out of the box about, well, have we thought about doing it this way? Even, and you can shoot me, is how do we take the club space that you have? Is there a better way to be doing that? So, yeah,
So
Jimmy?
part of the furniture design.
You have to,
I'm gonna have to. Well,
you have to come up here.
Victor's gonna find me. Part of it was we did work with the SGO group from last year, and this is the result of it. We went to Georgetown University, me and Dean Hamlin, and we took a look at the best practices. Georgetown is a top 20 university and has one of the best student unions. And we took the concept of this, what the student needs are, and they did extensive studies on it. And we basically told Mike to come up with something like this, an idea like this. More charging ports, mobile furniture, multiple purposes. I believe one of the biggest feedback we got last year from students in general and SGO was the lack of general study space. So we want to make sure that this becomes a study area if the students choose to use it too. So definitely input from SGO. This year, again, there's a new group of SGO leaders. Dean Hamlin and I will continue to work with you, but Mike and his group has been working real hard on this for 2 years, and I think this is a drastic improvement to what we currently have. So,
Yeah, he was advocating, about three years ago. And not for nothing, the board chair was saying, Sue, you got to fix the furniture. I said, okay, we're going to work on it. So, but we do want to make sure that space, and here's my dream, and this is just personal. I like ping pong tables and pool tables, but anyway, just saying. It's just me. So I want to bring up a couple other things that we are doing that we're recognized as really, really, really important. This fall, the number of transfer students we got from Hudson County Community College was strong, but it wasn't as strong as we wanted it to be. And what we're noticing, because Jimmy tracks everything, is that we're losing students to Montclair State. Because they decided this year that they were going to go Research 1. That means a couple of things. It doesn't mean they need to have a certain grant profile. They got to have a certain kind of research profile with their faculty, but as important is they need to be moving in the direction of being closer to 25,000 students. They are currently at 20. So knowing my peer president that I do, and the motivated human being that she is recruiting students from everywhere she can. And so last year there were buses that came over from Montclair State and took Hudson County Community College students over to Montclair State to show them how short it was of a drive over there and why don't they just finish their degrees here. Now, we would like for them to finish with us. So I am delighted, Wendy, that you are spending your days at Hudson County Community College, ensuring that we have very strong collaboration. I also know that a lot of the departments are working on joint degrees, which is really, really, really important. We had a really good meeting this Monday with Brookdale Community College. Is Deb here? There, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Well, I don't know exactly what you'd like to talk about, but
the programs that we're thinking about doing with them. See, originally what happened is Brookdale said, you may only offer these 4 things there because we are going to tell you what you can do and what you can't do. And so they have recognized that that was not a winning proposition for them. You know, they didn't get more enrollment because of it, and certainly we didn't. So they've opened it up and said, what would you like to do here? Like, we never offered master's level courses down there. So what we're looking at is what are some other courses or other programs we could think about doing there. So,
well, the process has been that the president and the provost have been in consultation with the community colleges, in particular Brookdale, and so have the deans and the faculty. And the real work starts now. Once we have had these preliminary discussions, now we start hammering out articulation agreements, and that's where the faculty role comes in to make sure that we maintain the academic integrity of our program, but we are providing a completer program for their associate degree graduates. So they are very interested in expanding on the programs that currently exist there, which is, as you know, nursing, security studies, criminal justice, fire science, and they are very interested in moving into health sciences collaboration. They're interested in programs that will allow students to enter at the associate's level and graduate with a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree. We have been in discussion, at least I have been in discussion with my faculty in criminal justice regarding a bridge program, also with security studies, those kinds of things. The nursing department is got 1,004 ideas that they have been working on to expand what they do. And so I think that it's a wonderful opportunity for us, and it's also something that provides a way for students in the central part of the state who are not economically advantaged to also take advantage of our expertise in providing completion baccalaureate and master's degrees. So that's where we are with that discussion. They are also very, very interested in our business programs, which have been down there for a while as well. So I will defer to the School of Business, but they are very interested in some of the new programming that has been developed in the School of Business related to data analytics. And I think that there are many opportunities for us to work in that area as well.
let me ask, Jason, I'm going to pick on you. So Jason, you have to talk into the microphone though because they're streaming this. Jason worked just, his last job was at Monmouth University. So he has a pretty good sense of who's down there and, you know, what the possibilities are. Jimmy, on the other hand, also has done a lot of back-end work on what the data looks like for students down there and where they come from and what are the possibilities. So you want to talk a little bit about your experience at Monmouth?
Sure.
No,
so
Jason Kroll, yes? I think I introduced him.
I don't think everybody knows. So I am Jason Kroll. I'm the new Vice President for Advancement. So I was at Monmouth for 4 years as the VP for External Affairs there, which is a similar type role. But what I will tell you is that upon hearing about the opportunities that we have in Brookdale, Monmouth County area, that it really passes the smell test from the standpoint that there are students who clearly are missing out on the kind of opportunity that NJCU can provide. And that is to be that state institution that's in Monmouth County. There isn't one. There is no option for them.
That's right.
So there's, just like we serve so well Hudson, Jersey City, I think the same thing could certainly be happening down in Monmouth County.
Good, thank you. So what Jason didn't tell you is that but previous to working at Monmouth, he was at Rutgers as the Senior Associate Athletic Director, and that he played baseball in college and coached baseball. So he's a multi-talented human being. Just like I never knew Tim White could sing till we did a play. As you know, some of you have been invited to a retreat. Yes, if you are, did you anybody get an invitation? Okay, we got an invitation. Good. So here's how it goes. I told Sue I wanted to get, Sue Gerber and Virginia, who are managing all this for me, that I wanted to get 60% of the campus, faculty, staff, and I'm going to get some students in there. 60% of our faculty and staff and administrators at this retreat. And we did it random sort, pulled it up. And so as Aaron was saying to me yesterday, because we were looking at the RSVP list, and we had a lot of people RSVP originally, and then we had some people who haven't RSVP'd yet. So if you did get an invitation and haven't RSVP'd yet, to let us know whether you can come or not, we need to know, because if you can't come, I need to invite some of the 40% other people who didn't even get an invitation, because I've had people say, I want to come. And I said, well, let me see if we've got some openings. So you should be getting a nudge from somebody, or if you want to go back and look at your email, see if, and Patrick, I know we've invited a number of people from your area, from facilities, maintenance, and housekeeping, so I hope you all come. Oh, you got one? Oh, good. Okay, good. So it was random sort, and we're going to have you do a version of what we did with the cabinet this summer. The way we did it this summer was we had them read the book, Thank You for Being Late by Thomas Frieden, which is a pretty thick book. There is a 1-hour video if you can't slog your way through the book. It's fascinating. I got about halfway through it and thought, well, why am I even running an institution? We should just close them all down. There's too much other stuff going on in the world. And then by the time I got to the end of it, I said, oh, I know why we have NJCU. Because the last 3 chapters talk about why we as human beings need to have what we have in the world. And it was a very refreshing book, particularly toward the end. The front part was a little scary. So if you are invited, I hope you read it. If you needed to get a book, we have some. Just ask Virginia, and we are happy to provide that for you. And if you don't want to slog through the 450 pages, you can watch the 1-hour video. What we want to look at is the takeaways from that. Talk a little bit about what we got accomplished from this strategic plan. You will be amazed how many things have gotten done. You are an amazing group of people. You have done such good work, and you should be very proud of it. And we have some very measurable things that we've gotten done. It got done because all of us. And so that was a fantastic thing. And then we're just kind of going to look at, okay, what's possible. And that's what this book allows you to think about, is what the future is, and how is it we might be a part of that exciting future. So if you haven't RSVP'd, please do. Why don't you do this? If you didn't get an invite and you're interested, we can put you on a list. Virginia's got the list. So as long as we know that other people have told us they can or cannot come, because we really wanted to have a meaningful day, so it couldn't be 1,000 people in the room, but we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to get input from everybody. So there will be 3 retreats, and if I need to do a 4th one, we will, which, I think that's an important thing for us to be doing. The other thing that I have asked is I would like to have 2 this fall and 3 next spring of looking at some exciting things that some of our faculty are doing. Some of them are doing amazing things in the classroom that you just, I talked to one faculty member, he said, you don't teach anymore. You interact with students, and this is how you build the environment so that they can learn. So I'm going to be seeing if I can find one. Going to find some people, 2 in the fall and 3 in the spring, to make presentations for the campus. And I'm also going to invite people from the external community, our boards, because I want them to see the cool stuff you're doing. You should be very proud. It is why our numbers in the NESI and the FESI were so high in terms of interaction and the rich experience the students have. The piece that we have to continue to focus on is what I spend a lot of time talking about is I got to get the sausage made about how to get the mechanics of how to be a student here out of the way so they can really engage in the classroom. And that's really something that it's going to take a bunch of offices to do it, and they are all committed to doing it. It's just we're trying to figure out how to make that work best. And that'll engage a lot of the departments, but more it's the services offices that really have to figure out how to get these students to maneuver college, because college is a complicated process. So the retreats will be fun. And the speakers will be interesting. I also have asked for some names for, I would like to do some what I call conversations with faculty. I think that's what it is. And what I'm interested in having is an opportunity to sit down with faculty and find out what they're working on. And the rules of engagement are, we're not going to talk about the fact that you don't like the fact that your classroom's too hot or too cold or it's too left or too right, or that's for another. I want this to be an opportunity for us to share with one another things we're doing. I got an email today from Bill Westerman, who went to a lecture yesterday in New York about this woman who's doing these amazing things about how she's teaching. And it's an active learning kind of thing. And of course, I'm going to read it tonight. So, and some of you just send me stuff from time to time. There's one other thing I'm going to do, and this will take us a while. Jason, I want him to meet you. You're doing cool stuff here, whether it's our offices or our faculty offices. There's cool stuff happening, and these things need to be told. And this is something that he observed when he came in. He said, Sue, you've got so many good things, we need to translate it into what our brand is, because our brand is our story. We just got to figure out how to say that. And it's his job to help us say it in short sentences, because that's about all people attend to right now. So we're going to be doing some listening tours. So I'm just kind of learning about you, because you've got cool things happening, and it's just stories that we need to get out. By the way, as I meet alumni around the country, they are blown away by the stuff we're doing. They're really very impressed, and I just have to thank all of you all for making that happen, because you are why the students are having this experience. So I want to thank you for that, and if you have questions, I'm happy to take them. Yes.
A request and an observation.
Yes, ma'am.
So the request is, now that we have greater numbers of NJCU students going abroad, I request that you collect more data, because nationally we know that they have more academic success and that they're retained more, and I want to see that data for NJCU.
Perfect. Okay, so, she left. I'm going to task, Tim, will you tell Tamara that what we need to do, because we can do this in EAB, is to track the students, okay? Or Sue can get me the data, because they can be one of the cohorts. Yes. No, I can track them to a person. I can tell you the athletes, I can tell you what the retention rate is, who's doing well, who's not doing well, because we've just set that up as a database. We can do that easily in this.
And then the observation
That's great.
Is,
Yeah.
I understand, and I agree with it, that you're focusing on the undergraduate population and their graduation rate. However,
you have to.
Some of our graduate students have, even though they have made it to graduate school and been successful, they have issues that can be similar to our undergraduates. For example, we want to make them understand they could go into a doctoral program, either here or somewhere else, and things of that nature. So there's work to be done there.
Is Jimmy still here? No, Virginia, you're going to write this down? Because this is something that we really need to think about doing through our students. He's talked about, no, I already have one. He's talked about that before, and yeah, what we've got to figure out how to put all that together. And the other thing I need to know, I need to have him do some analysis on what is the capacity of our graduate students to pay. Does that make sense? So, yeah, because that, again, we got to figure out what's holding students back.
But they have to understand they can do these things also.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll put a little bit back on y'all, because you all have so much weight. Faculty have a lot of weight with students. So encouraging them, we'll encourage, but you also encourage, and I know you do, because I know who you are. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a two-way street. We all have to help.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we try. Yes.
I think what slide it was the offices that help students.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if you could also add the ASIN program.
Oh, excellent idea. Yes.
The ASIN program is a program, thank you, that basically helps students from high school and basically prepares them for what college is because, you know, while higher education is doing their thing, sometimes our high schools and elementary schools are not.
Right.
And also, we have peer advisors that help with orientation to college classes, that help with registration drives as well. So,
Yeah,
that's it.
I suspect that if we did the data, that the work that you all are doing is as important as some of the work that some of the others are doing. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Ascend program, the data? Come on. You've told me some nice, interesting points about it. Do y'all know Jessica?
All right, so the Ascend Summer Bridge program was extremely successful this summer due to our awesome team, Christian Vergara here, who was our program coordinator. We increased our enrollment by 30%. We have all of our students enrolled full-time, -1 due to some specialized services that she has. We have 49% of our students that tested out of our developmental courses, and about 30 of our students increased their test scores by 10 points. The Summer Bridge program had a 2 peer mentors to 15 students cohort. The students were in the classroom, the peer mentors were in the classroom with the students throughout the entire day, as well as our tutors. So there was a seamless transition between the classroom to the co-curricular activities, to the extracurricular activities, and to our tutoring sessions. We had a lot of evening events. We partnered with athletics. We partnered with study abroad, National Student Exchange. Res Life hosted a lot of our activities over the summer. They, as usual, took care of our dorming students at a significantly low price, low cost, and a few weekends we had students having to stay on campus because they had nowhere to go. I texted Jody when she was on vacation and she said, go for it. We had an extremely enriching educational experience this summer that really bridged the gap between not only high school to college, but the curricular and extracurricular activities on campus. We had 25 of our students go to the student government retreat, invited by our student government and our dean of students, who truly recognized their presence and their growth here on campus. So it was really a collaborative effort, and I'm thankful to everyone for their support. Thank you.
Good. So one of the things I've asked Jessica is to track what the retention rate is. Those, by the way, we should be celebrating our retention freshman to sophomore last year grew 74 to 78%. This year it's once again at 78%, which is great. We haven't lost ground. But the data point that I'm also proud of is that this year our sophomore to junior retention rate went up, which is important because the only way I'm going to get to a better graduation rate is, is to do it 1 year at a time. So we're making progress. We're making progress, and I'm hoping that it's because we're really paying attention to each student as a individual that we can work with and make sure that we've got good things happening. So, yes.
It's great to have sessions like this so we can see all the terrific things that are happening here, and thank you for that. One of the things that was mentioned, that an area that we need some enhancement in the slides, because it went very quickly, seems to be governance. And you had mentioned that the provost was putting together a blue ribbon panel, I think was the way you terminology. Firstly, I'd like to volunteer for that. I have a little bit of expertise in that area. And the second thing is, the last time we had a town hall meeting with arts and sciences, and you were there, and we thank you for your presence and running that also, we asked the Dean of Arts and Sciences to convene a town hall meeting with all of the faculty of arts and sciences. And we asked him to do that, and he said he would, but nothing has happened yet. So my request is, would you remind him, please?
I will do that, and I will make sure, actually, we're going to do some campus college-wide meetings because I want to spend the time to talk about this because I know not everybody was able to come to this. I'll do a shortened version of it so you don't have to listen so much. But then also, yes, it needs to be something that's done. Yeah, I agree.
I think it would be positive and helpful.
No, I agree. I agree completely. So, yes, Jennifer. Jennifer, did you see that you're up there?
I'm so
You're
happy.
up there really big in the
I'm
slides.
finally on a screen somewhere. I'm not going to stand because of my hip, okay? But I just want you to know that we are getting an increased number of graduate schools that are coming to our graduate school fair to court our students. The biggest challenge is getting the students to think about advanced study and to come to the graduate school fairs. And we have to really start that early with, you know, thinking about there's certain majors that it's much better for you to go in and get a master's or a doctorate. I mean, it's going to make you more employable.
Yep.
So anything that faculty can do to help us to get that message out is really great. The other thing is the study
Are you
abroad.
writing this down, Sue? Good.
The study abroad program is growing, and that's great. Really want to see internships abroad, because I think that's another piece that would put icing on the cake.
Okay, so you know that there's an organization called the World Association of Cooperative Education? Which
Yes,
is
I
like-
do. Yeah,
okay.
I do.
So the guy I used to work with in my old job is like president of that organization. So I will connect you, the two of you, because he's very passionate about it. And there are ways to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to either know that the student is going to this other country can either speak the language,
Right.
or make sure you go to a country where English is the language, or it's a language that is our students' native language. We know that, I think, is it 70% of our students already speak 2 languages? It's huge. It's huge. I mean, so it's kind of a cool thing.
Anything that we can do to increase funding for special programs like that, as well as out-of-state cooperative education or internships, whatever we finally call this. But, you know, that's important because some of our students, they just, as we know with study abroad, they just can't afford to do it.
Right. Now, the study
So-
abroad is already supported in large part by the foundation and several other sources. But one of the things Jason and I have talked about is fundraising to raise money for paid internships, because a
Yes.
lot of firms are willing to give you an internship, but they assume the student can come for free. Well, you know, our students are busy working. So we need to tell them, okay, don't work that job right now, go over here and work this one and make sure it's a paid internship, which I think is really important. And he's already kind of putting a game plan together.
Great.
I'll make sure we connect you two.
You'll be happy to know that I have an email from PwC last week, and that we've already placed maybe 4 students there for full-time permanent positions.
I will tell you, Jennifer has made such progress, and one of the things I'm noticing that's making it work, she cannot be what I call the one-handed paper hanger here. It's very often the faculty that have the connections out in the community, whether it's businesses or non-for-profits. If I look at the art department, they are so connected to a lot of non-for-profit and galleries, and they are really well equipped to help place students, to find that firms, you know, we need your office to help with that. So it needs to be something that all of us need to work on together. So. Okay. Yeah.
One
Yeah.
last thing. Promise.
Nah.
One of my concerns since I've gotten to this school is two things. How are our art departments, music, media arts, what have you, what is our connection with the outside world? Because I'm fortunate enough to know people that know people, but a lot of my peers are not. And when we go to our departments, when we go to certain administration, either they don't have the resources or the school doesn't have the resources. And what I find is that a lot of our students are transferring to other schools that have those resources. One of the things that I oftentimes say is NJCU still has a department of music and not a school of music, which can also be a problem. And, you know, like my degree map says Bachelor of Arts in Music Ed, when it should be Bachelor of Music and Music Ed, because that's what schools and people like the Metropolitan Opera are looking for, right?
That's a good point. That would be something that, could I recommend you send that as a suggestion to the chair? Because she tries to stay, I mean, I think she tries to stay current about what we need to look like. And she's constantly trying, I think, to figure out how to make sure that our students get out and perform. But I would agree with you on that one. One of the things I have observed about the internships is very often, for example, if you're in one department, they'll work at CBS. You know, it's because of the connections we have, but we need if you have connections, we need to make that even stronger. I mean, the dinner I had last night with this gentleman who runs this company, we did the dinner purposely because I wanted to know, when we walked out of there, 2 things happened. I need a program that his firm helps pay for that gets our students internships and then jobs. Because that's, and I mean, that's what we got to do. It's the model that education has done for years, because you can't get certified unless you student teach. Well, that's an internship. So, oh, yes, sorry.
I don't know if I should, I'll just stand up.
That's a good idea.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sion. So, yeah. A question about the timely graduation slide. The debt-free promise, like, how does that work? I don't know, like, the specifics about that.
So did you come here as a freshman?
I came here as a sophomore, transferred from St. Peter's.
Okay, transferred from St. Peter's. All righty, so that means that the debt-free right originally was set up just for students who were freshmen coming in. But if you will, I'm going to connect you with Jimmy Jung, because there's financial aid we have for transfer students. That, you know, and I thank you for coming to us from St. Peter's. Don't tell them that, but.
I'm sorry, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Also about the Student Office of Employment, is that rectified yet, or is it?
It is one that I sort of put Jimmy on the spot. It was a goal he wanted to set this year. He wants to set an office up. So it is, as I said, the cake's not cooked on that one. So if any of you all have ideas about what an Office of Student Work should look like, send him an email. Just Jimmy Jung, jjung@njcu.edu. Oh, there you are, Jimmy. You want to tell us about it? I didn't know you had left. Still here.
You know, one of the most crucial things about student success and making sure students are able to complete the degree is finding on-campus employment. Because a lot of our students work 2 or 3 jobs and is always off campus. And what the data showed is if they work instead on campus, they're not just that much more engaged, but they're that more likely to complete the degree. So with the President's investment, what we're trying to do is centralize that. So not just that it's only a job, but it matches the needs of the different offices on campus and the different faculty on campuses. So let's say you want to be a finance major, we're able to find you an office that's also looking for someone with that background. So it could be a sort of, it'll be something meaningful on your resume as opposed to something that is like, well, what I do, I shred a paper. That's not what we want for our students. Right. So that's something that the President's wanted the last 2 years, and I think we're at the time where there's, you know, she's generated enough jobs on campus that we could centralize it and make it that much more impactful. So send me an email. I think that we're looking to hopefully kick it off in January, the spring semester. And any ideas you can have, send it to me now, and we'll try to incorporate it.
Yeah, and then out in the departments, if your departments need workers. I was talking to Martin Kruk this morning, and I said, you may not need an accounting major, but he said, well, I probably wouldn't care because of what he needs. But, you know, if you need student workers, so, yeah.
Okay, also a suggestion to like aid with the retention rate dropping. So I believe that we should have an event geared towards the students as opposed to like the ones that we have now. Like a day where people that are engulfed in these majors come out and speak to the students so they know what they're getting themselves into. Also, just
in terms of what their major means.
Yeah, in terms of what their major means, what it ensues, what's actually out there in the job market, so they don't like just walk into the world.
Right. I will share with this that right now, if you sign on to your EAB platform, there's something that tells you if you major in math, these are the jobs you can take, and this is the salaries, average salaries. And it's data, it's national data that's updated like every day. So the database we have comes from a national resource. So you could look at it, but what would be better for you is if I had somebody sit down with you, because you may not even know what an actuary is, you know.
Also, just like an administrative question, why don't we immerse like the freshmen into at least like 2 classes in their desired major accompanied with their important classes rather than binding them with English composition, math, like just stuff like that might be detrimental. It might lead to that retention rate or lead to them leaving. Okay. Because they might take longer to finish those classes or do bad in those classes when that wasn't their intended major. That's not what they came here to do.
Correct. Okay, so I'm going to give the liberal arts reason. One of the things that's important for any college degree is that you leave with 2 things. You need with the ability to have a livelihood, So that's why you need to have these accounting or biology classes or ESL classes, but you need to have a life. And to be able to be productive out as a worker, but also out to be a productive citizen, you need to be able to write, and you better be able to think critically. So it's really important for us, and every institution in the country has students really take these basic things that, and I wouldn't call them basic, they're foundational to your ability to be a productive citizen. Maybe what we could do is kind of incorporate something in there that has to do with, and I'll give you an example. My daughter was going to do pre-med, and her freshman year they offered a course that they required her to take, which was the health sciences, and it was a 1-credit course where she came in and they had a doctor come in, they had an athletic trainer come in, they had all the kinds of things you could do, physician assistant, so she better understood what those jobs were and what was required to get to them. Like one of them took 10 more years out of college, and one of them took 3 more years out of college. One of them you could do right out of college. So, and these are the salaries they would earn, and this is what their lifestyles are like. So those I think would be helpful to students. So anyway.
I'm sorry, I have a lot. Does anybody else have questions? I'm sorry.
I'm glad you have them.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Also,
so what's your major?
English.
Oh,
focusing creative writing.
You're great. You have Okay, so I've got to tell the English story. I'm sitting down the other night at the first volleyball game, women's volleyball, and this woman usually just sit down anywhere. I sit down, and this woman's next to me, and she obviously has a daughter on the field because she's like all animated. And I said, well, which one's your daughter? Oh, it's this one right here. She loves NJCU. I said, yes. And I said, that's great. What's her major? English. I said, great. She said, as a matter of fact, her older sister's now majored in English, and she named 2 of the professors in that, you know, like they said, the students remember their professors. And she's out teaching English. She loved the experience. And then she turned around and said, and these are my nephews. They're majoring in business. So I thought, wow, this is kind of a cool thing. So you're in a good degree. You need to take a lot of English composition. Come on.
I know, that's just for me, but I'm talking about like other students.
But I have to. I was a math major, so I needed to learn to write. That's important. Sorry.
Absolutely. I'll try to condense it into just 2 more questions.
Sure.
So, about the emergency funds, is there anyone that's giving this information towards the students?
That would be Jimmy.
The emergency funds were first conceptualized last year. So last year we geared it towards folks that are just graduating, because, you know, if you're a couple $100s away from graduating, we want to make sure you close the gap and end up with an NJCU degree. This year, thanks to Foundation's efforts and soon-to-be Jason's efforts, we're increasing that fund towards our residence life students, right? So the goal is to expand it so we can help all NJCU students, but we are very targeted and we're very specific currently. For you as a transfer students, we have expanded the transfer type scholarships, and I think the Office of Enrollment Services will be a good place to touch base to see if you qualify for any type of foundational scholarships or any kind of funds, especially for transfer students. So they're on the first floor here. If you come in the exit to the door to the left, so they'll be the best place to start. So
yeah, he's going to walk you out after this.
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah, I'll point you to the right place.
Lastly, about the new renovations that you guys are making. This is just speaking from my perspective. I'm not sure like the exact specifics, but rather than utilize the 10 million borrowed like from the state in order to let me make sure.
This is for the science building.
Yeah, in order to rectify the science building. What about Grossnickel? Because I've seen like even when students come to the campus like that are freshmen now, trying to see like what the college experience is like, you guys don't even go to Grossnickel. I've seen them like about face. Yeah. So like I don't know what's going on with that, or like why money is.
Okay, so Grossnickel is a building that if we fixed it up tomorrow would cost us a lot of money, because it was built in the 60s. It has asbestos in it, and it needs a huge HVAC system. When the School of Business moved down to the waterfront, it opened up some classroom space. So I don't know that we necessarily need all those spaces over there. So that may be one reason we're not showing it to you, and not for nothing, my colleague over there really wants it so that no student ever has to go in that building, because he said, especially a prospective student, he said, because it doesn't really position the institution very well. But that is a very good point. We did spend the extra $10 million on the science building because our science program is growing, and because our faculty were doing research and they really did not have the right kind of spaces to do it. The arts building that we are doing on the University Place is being paid for by the ground leases that are coming from each of those buildings that are going up. So it'll effectively be free, and which is making me happy, because we have the lowest facility fee in the state, I think, from our peers. A lot of them really charge the students a lot more. And one of the things we may consider doing this year, and I need to give you a heads up on this one, both Montclair State did this and William Patterson. They took their fee money and incorporated it into their tuition. And they did it for a couple of purposes. They did it because they felt like they would get more federal Pell money and more tag money, which in my mind is free money. It's money from the federal government, money from the state, and it's not making you pay for it. Whereas in some instances, these fees have to be paid for by the students. So if we can incorporate it into one big package and then tell the federal government and the state, you pay more of it, then there's less actual cash, out-of-hand cash that the students have to pay. So that may be something we're looking to do. We've got to run the numbers on it. Yes, Jimmy?
To channel my inner vice president of finance and administration, the science building was a grant by the state, so the state designated that $10 million.
No, they designated 32, we borrowed 10.
Yes. And so I would have loved to use that money for gross nickel, but it was for a STEM building, so.
Yeah, which we're growing. Our STEM programs are growing, so.
I'll just leave it at that.
Well, we should talk afterwards. Okay. And I would encourage you to get involved in a club or something. If you're not, you need to. All right, come on. Okay, a couple other things. Vinita, she, through the council, the President's Diversity Council, we're going to be having some speakers come to campus, and I think we talked a little bit about that. I'm very excited about that because I think this is very important in light of all the things that are happening down in Washington. Yeah.
I'd like to note that the English department attracts curious and articulate students.
Yes.
I'd like to thank the president for the defense of composition courses for the right reason, and that is they teach critical thinking, reading with comprehension, and writing well, which students need not only to succeed in the college, but as they progress in their professional lives. But this was the statement I really intended to make, which was that the English department sees all of the freshmen. And the academic profile of this year's class really seems to have increased.
It has. Jimmy gave me the data.
Yeah, and so we notice that.
Yeah.
And that should have a significant impact on retention and student engagement. So I appreciate that.
Everybody has worked hard, and I appreciate this. You've worked hard to take the students we have, and I'm telling you, and this is what my peers across the country say, you're going to take the students you have. And we want to make sure that when they come in the door, we prepare them. And I really want to thank you for the work that you do, because that's very important. And it is all of us working together that makes it work. It's exciting for me. I love commencement, but I really also love visiting alums, because you really have left a legacy with people, and you should be very proud of that. So anyway, thank you. And I hope, some of you are coming to the retreat, I hope? Yes? Yeah, retreaty people? Okay, good. If you have an RSVP, please do, because I want to invite some other people if you're not coming. All right, thank you again. I really appreciate it. Thanks. That was great.